Let's bring in NewsNation law and justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, first, I've just got to get your reaction to this news conference and the revelations of these internet searches.
Right. We have all been standing by because this case has had us all enthralled. We've all been worried about this young lady. And then, of course, when she returned home, it just left so many, unanswered questions. And the first impression I had was, wow, this was planned, Elizabeth. This was planned.
No one else on the highway saw a toddler that night. And we just heard the police chief talking about the distance they calculated while she was on 911, talking to the operator, saying, I'm following the child, I'm following the child. It was 6 football fields. That makes no sense.
No sense. It's unreasonable, and there is no way that law enforcement bought into that, and that's why we didn't see a bolo. That's why we didn't see any concern for a public message prior to now from law enforcement.
Why would somebody make up a story like this if, in fact, that's what happened here?
Well, we've seen it before, right? Sherry Papini did it. She had a love interest. That's why she did it. We don't know the reason, but I do believe law enforcement does. The reason I say that is at that press conference, they alluded to they knew her mindset, but because of privacy reasons, they weren't going to disclose it. So I think they know the motive.
Yeah, at some point, the police chief said there were several other internet searches that they were not going to disclose. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that that's going to lead us to her mindset and why in the world she did this. People do it for various reasons. Sometimes it's attention, sometimes it's money, in other words, GoFundMes. I think that this blew up much more than this young lady had expected.
Well, and we know you just mentioned Sherry Papini. In that case, they eventually figured out exactly where she was and what she was doing. It took a while. And then they filed charges against her, and she's been sentenced to 18 months in prison. This is serious stuff to make up a story.
It is, Elizabeth. And I can tell you, having been involved in a case, not exactly like this, but similar, where we had to come up with the money. And so literally we went through and figured out how much money it cost the state, how much money it cost the federal authorities, what it cost to look and to spend all this time and resources finding her.
The police chief said that Carlee Russell is not cooperating at this point, not answering any more questions. So what's the next step?
Well, the next step is going to be really to do gumshoe investigation. They need to be looking at ring cameras and really following from the moment she hit her neighborhood backwards. And that's what they're going to be doing, at least from a video camera vantage. So I think we're going to get to the bottom of those hours she was missing. I think law enforcement will put it all together.
They have captured her on neighborhood security cameras as she walked alone down her neighborhood street up to the house where her family lives. And then they called 911 to say, oh my gosh, she's here. There's no indication at this point that the family suspected that this wasn't true or was in on this in any way, is there?
No, I think the family was also, unfortunately, wanted to believe their daughter, and want is so very strong. And I think it blinded them truly to the details she gave, them realizing this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you got to wonder. The mother was just on television saying her daughter fought for her life. And then now hearing what this police chief just said and unveiled in this news conference, I mean, they put it all out there. They played that 911 tape. They said that's how far we measured. I mean, this was a very detailed presentation of how her story is not adding up.
Yes, law enforcement has done a great job, and I really was impressed too, Elizabeth, with the transparency. I think all of us really welcomed that, all the details, listening to that 911 call for the first time. I think just putting to rest the idea that anybody dangerous was out there. It was important how it was presented, and they did a great job in this investigation to date.
All right, Jennifer Coffindaffer, always great to have you on the show on this really strange story tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.